Hey, this is Teresa, homeless addict in recovery here in Fayetteville, Arkansas. And today I learned a few things about myself that might prove useful to other people who are experiencing extreme stress in their day-to-day lives. So I battle the challenge of communal living daily and a fear of the future because I still don't have a permanent roof over my head, as well as balancing my mental health because I have borderline personality disorder and manic depression and PTSD. So I face these challenges by being very proactive about my mental health. And one of the ways that I am proactive is by attending intensive outpatient therapy through Vantage Point. So today at my intensive outpatient therapy class, we learned about advanced distress tolerance skills, which basically ways to deal with extreme amounts of stress. And one of these methods is called REST. And REST stands for relax, evaluate, set an intention, and take action. And I realized as we went over this lesson today that I already do these things because I do a lot of self-examination, and I've had to do that in order to come to some of the understandings that I have about myself. So the relaxation part, I get up in the morning and I try to do my self-care or listen to music or do both. Evaluate. I do a daily checklist, and if you're curious about that checklist, you can check out my video. This simple checklist can change your day. And whenever I do that, then that checklist allows me to see how I'm feeling and kind of why. And then from there, I take it and I break it down into categories because there are different parts of my life that are very important to me, and sometimes it can be overwhelming. There's the role as a mother. So there's my relationship with my children. There's spiritual, so my relationship with God. There's my romantic relationship, my relationship with my fiance. And then there's the daily goals that I need in order to survive and secure a future. So I break it down into those categories and look at it logically as to what's the simplest way that I can approach each one. What can I realistically do if I'm feeling bad in a certain area? Like, say I feel like I haven't been communicating with my children enough, then I make a goal to call each one of them or to send a text message or reach out. If I feel bad in my relationship, if I feel guilty in my relationship with God, then I try to study the word more or sit down and spend time with him by praying. If I feel like I'm unhappy in my romantic relationship, and so on and so forth, and my daily goals, then I look realistically at what I can do. Can I put in a job application today? Can I, so on and so forth. And then I make my goals, which is setting an intention, and then I take action by completing the goals that are realistic for the day. And on a bigger scale, I used this method whenever I got fired on Monday from my part-time job. So when something like that happens to me, it is easy for me to go into a very negative emotional state because I've realized recently that something like this that I could take as a rejection or a failure leads me back to that feeling of toxic shame that I felt as a child, where I felt like something was wrong with me. And that's what usually happens to me when something big happens in my life, like I break up with someone, or I lose a job, or things like that. And because it has that effect on me and I go back to that toxic shame, it's very overwhelming because I then feel all of the things I felt as a child, because my PTSD is emotional. It's not a visual flashback. and my borderline can shift easily and change my identity of myself whenever I feel like that. And then I feel like I become that person that deserves shame and has done something wrong. And it's really hard for me to hold on to the sense of self that I've worked so hard to secure. So when I get overwhelmed by those emotions now, which is what I did whenever I got fired, I automatically step back. And my way of stepping back was removing myself from people around me, and removing myself from my workplace and the place where I stay overnight, because they were intertwined, and reaching out to my daughter and going to her house for a couple of days. So that's what I did, and I relaxed with her, and then I was able to relax, like it says in the first step of rest, and go from there. And the next day, whenever I was feeling less emotional, I evaluated the situation. And since I have already put in applications for other places to get more hours in the TEO program at Goodwill, then I knew realistically the situation wasn't as bad as my emotions were telling me. There's nothing to panic about. It's just I was being overwhelmed by the fear and the embarrassment, because I felt like I automatically got those thoughts again, like that I did whenever I was a child, like I couldn't do anything right. And like everybody was going to be looking at me and thinking that I did something wrong. And that just goes back to being ostracized as a child and being emotionally abused, among other things, while I was growing up, because I wasn't an outcast, I was the outcast. And so I have to deal with those emotions now. I thought that I was healed from my childhood, but now that I have pinpointed the toxic shame, I know where it comes from. So by evaluating it and realizing that I had already set goals in place, I then set an intention on achieving those goals. And what could I do that day to achieve those goals? Get up out of bed and make a call to Goodwill to see where I was at on the list and if there were going to be any openings. And I learned that there were going to be openings in November. So I know now that I have something to look forward to that will help me be more financially secure, and I can go from there. Take action. I took action by getting out of bed so I could make that phone call. So those are some of the examples of how I have dealt with some of my daily stressors, and also how I deal with something that causes me more stress. And I encourage you, if you go through something suddenly that takes you by surprise and your emotions overwhelm you, to step back. Even if you can't do it the way that I did, go to a friend or to a place that can be a safe haven, maybe even somewhere that you didn't think of before. Travel to another side of town if you're homeless, or if you're not homeless, reach out to friends or people that you know, who can be healthy or give you healthy advice, or take some time to yourself, even if it's just a walk in nature, or doing something that you ordinarily wouldn't do, but something that's productive. So you can be impulsive in a good way. And then evaluate it and tackle whatever you can tackle, and then do whatever you can do. Just make sure that you keep progressing in whatever it is you're trying to do, because nothing in this life should sabotage you from what's best for you. And I hope this video helps and give you some ideas on how to manage your stress and deal with some difficult circumstances that stress can cause you.